What's up, everyone? How you doing? Colin Egglesfield with another episode of Coffee with Colin. It is Monday, the Monday before Thanksgiving, and tonight's guest is someone who I have found incredibly interesting and fascinating because he is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to health and wellness. As a brand ambassador for R3 Stem Cell, I've had the amazing opportunity to meet a lot of really incredible doctors who practice all sorts of different disciplines. And tonight's guest is he's an expert in basically health and wellness. And there's a lot of new things out there when it comes to health and wellness, and including nootropics and peptides. And he's someone who has been practicing basically the art of how to stay healthy and well and how to live a long and fruitful life based on some of these newer practices that are out there. Now, when it comes to medicine, obviously anything new out there, people are going to be skeptical. Since working at R3, people ask me about, well, is this stem cell therapy actually work? And this is why I like to actually talk to the experts out there who have the information, who have studied this. And tonight's guest, he is a native of Jamaica, grew up on the island of St. Lucia. He received dual degrees with a master's in public health and a medical degree from St. George's University. He continued his medical training at Seton Hall University, internal medicine, and he also moved to, so he currently lives in Tucson. He has a health and wellness clinic with his wife in Tucson. That's where I actually met him. And he moved there in 2011. And he's been practicing internal medicine and functional medicine, which we're going to ask him about what the differences between those two disciplines are. And over the past decade, he has been also training in the field of obesity medicine. So I'm going to be asking him about this because 70% of the people in the U.S. are overweight. And, sometimes there's people will try everything and still not be able to lose weight. So we're going to be asking him about that. And he also recently completed a certification in peptide medical therapies. And we're going to be asking him about peptides and how they are beneficial, what are they, and pretty much anything else that you guys want to have asked. All you got to do is go into the chat here and type your questions in there. I will try to get to as many questions as possible. But other than that, he's just an awesome dude. And he's been helping out with the R3 medical trainings as well. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring Dr. Gerald Morris to the stage. How you doing, Dr. Morris?
I am good, Colin. How you been, buddy?
I'm doing great, thanks. I'm excited to have our chat tonight because this is the field of health and wellness is something that I care deeply about. Obviously, having to be in front of the camera, I'm always looking for ways to look good and stay young. And so that's why I'm excited to have you on tonight. So thanks for your time. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to jump on here with me.
Oh, no worries. It's my pleasure. It's good to get out there and spread the word and the message of good health to everyone. I am truly humbled that you invited me on this on your show. It's Coffee with Colin. Caveat: I'm not having coffee. I'm going to have water because, it's a little late and I've had my cup of coffee for the day already.
That's okay. We won't tell. So tonight I'd like to talk about the topics of healthy living, including diet, sleep, mindfulness, physical fitness, supplements. There's a lot of different supplements out there in the market. Mm-hmm. I'm sure some of them are better than others. And then obviously wanted to talk about peptides and nootropics and some of these things, and perhaps some regenerative medicine that you've discovered from what you've seen with stem cell therapy as well. So let's just dive right in. So did you always know you wanted to be a doctor?
Actually, no. I as a kid, I loved planes. So it's kind of weird. So I would always draw planes, airplanes. Even today, I love air travel. But as you get older and you kind of realize I wanted something in the science field, and going to school in the Caribbean, because that's where I'm from, there is heavy emphasis on, selecting a career that is actually going to help as much as you can. So I actually went initially to do biotechnical engineering.
Okay.
Sorry, biomedical engineering. But quickly, fell in love with the biology and did cell science and all that stuff, and changed my focus to medicine and kind of applied to med school, and here we are.
All right. And would you say you've enjoyed your journey along the way? Has it been incredibly challenging? Was it more difficult than you thought it would be? Did you have some great mentors helping you along the way, encourage you to stick with it?
So the answer to every single question is yes.
Yeah.
It was challenging, but I mean, let's face it, nothing worth doing is going to be easy. That's the main thing. We did end up having to do a lot more than I anticipated, but it wasn't. I mean, would I do it again? Yes, in a heartbeat. Just because of just going through that journey, learning the things I learned, being able to help patients now on a daily basis has truly made my life a lot more enriched. And I do feel like me learning and doing what I'm doing is making a difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go into the medical field. My dad was an obstetrician gynecologist, and just watching him, he just loved what he did. And the biggest part of it was just knowing that he was making a difference and bringing life into the world. And he invited me to watch him do a C-section one day, and watch that C-section. And I was like, yep, I'm good. This is not what I want to do.
Why? How old were you when that happened?
I want to say I was 21, I think. Yeah,
because I mean, as part of training, I did have to assist on a few C-sections, and it wouldn't be my first option as a surgeon to have someone kind of just, hey, come and see me work.
Right.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. No. I was more interested in just doing family medicine, and I like the idea of potentially doing Doctors Without Borders and just traveling around the world, and maybe living in, I don't know, Ecuador or wherever, just to experience traveling. And the whole traveling thing ended up happening through my acting and modeling and all that stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously having a degree in biology, I find all of this stuff fascinating. But you went to medical school is it St. George's University?
Yes.
And
so it's a university in the Caribbean. So that's where I did pre-med and med school. And then we finished off our training in New Jersey, Seton Hall University program. I actually did a little extra where you were able to do one of your years in England. So I spent a year in England learning their healthcare system and seeing how they practice medicine. And it was actually pretty eye-opening. Definitely a huge, different feel from what you get here in the US.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the difference?
So with the UK, it's more of a national healthcare service, NHS is what they call it. So where you kind of have to, I hate to say it, but some things do take a little longer to get processed, just because you have to go in line, and because of the taxes they have, it's kind of like Canada. So because of the taxes they have, everything is covered, but you just can't get it done right now unless it's an emergency. I mean, we were able to do help with emergent procedures and stuff all the time. But if it was something that was a routine or could wait a little while, you would spend 3 to 4 months waiting to see, or waiting to see the specialist, or waiting to get whatever surgery it was. So it was definitely an eye opener. And with the UK, at least where I trained in the UK, there was a heavy emphasis on the clinical skill, the aspect of putting the hands on the patient, which is what I found to be awesome. Because even a day like today, I always tell patients, I got to put my hands on you first, or at the end of it, because you can always pick up something extra by just examining the patient, and what I've seen in the progression in the US healthcare system here is, yes, some doctors still get the chance to do that, but there is a lot of heavier emphasis placed on testing, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes you need to, but I mean, going back to that, let's put a hand on you, let's make that human connection.
Yeah.
is kind of, so that helped my practice. And that's how, I am able to kind of continue, doing the things I'm doing, because
Yeah.
you can pick up on things by literally just putting your hands on a patient and listening and being like, how long you had that? And like, oh, what's that? And then you kind of explain and kind of go into the nitty gritty of what's going on.
And the medical schools here in America, do they teach nutrition when you were going to medical school? Because it seems like that's like a no-brainer in terms of what doctors would need to know.
Yes.
As a doctor.
So,
is it changing? Do you know now, or is it?
So what I can tell you is, like, for me, nutrition was maybe a 2-week, maybe 4-week course in med school out of the 4 years, which I can tell you is not enough at all. And I think part of the problem is, and as you've seen with nutrition, it's always it's like moving sands. What works this year is not going to work next year. But there are basics that I think, and I'm hoping med schools now are kind of giving more of a foundation to the students on to be able to understand, because a lot of the maladies we treat have a basis in nutrition, poor nutrition. So being able to guide, I mean, you don't have to know the new fad diet and be able to navigate all that, but at least being able to give the basics and have your patient understand that this is leading to that. So let's stop doing too much of this so that gets better, kind of situation, but there was not, in my opinion, we did not have enough training with regards to nutrition. But I think that's largely because of, it's difficult to make a full-on curriculum. That's why if you become a nutritionist, it is a longer, heavier curriculum. Mm-hmm. So to do that justice in med school, you're looking to add on maybe another 1 to 2 years at least of training, which would go from being a 4-year training to now a 6-7 year training, which wouldn't be very sustainable.
Yeah. And do you feel like medical school prepared you for knowing what you needed to know in order to do what you do now? Or is it a lot of it been you having to seek out some of this integrative health and some of these newer modalities that aren't traditionally taught in medical schools?
So with regards to, medical school is a good foundation. It's you get your basic sciences, they call it. You get that done, and anatomy, physiology, and that's important. You need that as a foundation. What I found is majority of your learning comes during residency, where you apply what you've learned in medical school, and even more learning comes after you finish residency and you go into, quote unquote, the real world, whether it's private practice or you're going to become a specialist, or if you're a surgeon, surgical practices. That's when the learning starts, because you never stop. You have to always be looking to improve your skills, because there's a reason why they call it the practice of medicine, because you have to keep working at it. I mean, I haven't met a doctor, like colleague of mine, who says, oh, yep, I'm it, I know everything. I haven't met that person. And honestly, if you've met that person, I would be very careful with, seeing that person, because even I will tell you, I'm still learning. And that's the joy and the fun of being a physician. You still, as long as your mind is open, you have got to be open-minded to be able to take in new things and add new things to your repertoire, and even learn from your patients, because a lot of patients are out there researching stuff themselves, and they'll bring it to you and be, oh, I didn't know that. And then you go and do your own digging and find out, oh, cool, that really does work. Or I see the science behind that, always deferring back to the science and making sure it makes sense. So that way you can make better decisions for patients as time progresses. So it's an ever evolving field. And I mean, as I'm sure your dad told you, it's always changing. Some things remain constant, but the majority of it is you're adding layer upon layer of knowledge, Mm-hmm. And every now and then you got to dip back into, oh, I remember I saw that one case, 2 years ago, and that's how I handled it. And it was the wrong way, so I fixed it. Or it was the right way, so I improved upon it.
Yeah. Sharon Kalma has a question here. She says, do you think folks should do a sensitivity test to find out what foods they should stay away from?
So sensitivity testing is an option, and some people do that. A much more, I would say, cost-effective and easier way to do that is, firstly, take a look at your symptoms, because I mean, when you have, it sounds like she's talking about food sensitivities. When you
Yes.
have a food sensitivity, it usually is followed by a GI symptom, or you can get some skin manifestations, whether it be a rash, or you can have headaches. So there's something that happens that can trigger these symptoms. Now, what I have my patients do is what we call an elimination protocol. So basically, you just take out an entire food group completely. So whether it be I won't do dairy, or I won't do wheat or gluten, or I'm going to stay away from meat, or I'm going to stay away from cruciferous vegetables. So there, or no more nuts for me. So you want to kind of try that approach, because by and large, most times you get your answer. You know,
Mhm.
if there is a group that's actually triggering it. Another thing you can do is keep a food diary. You know, I have patients do it who have issues all the time. I tell them, hey, and it might sound tedious, but write down everything you eat. And if you have an episode of whatever it is, whether it be the rash, cough, or whatever the symptom is,
Mhm.
do a little investigation and look back and see, what did I eat? And then kind of put two and two together, you know, because the food sensitivities, most of them are based on blood. And the trick with those is, even though the blood test might show a quote unquote reaction to a certain food,
Yeah.
it may not be what's causing your actual symptoms, because those food sensitivity testing usually only work on looking for immunoglobulins in the blood. It just means that you were exposed
Okay.
to the particular food, you know. So, but
And
for food sensitivity, the
yeah,
gut is a huge area that we really have to take care of.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Learning more about gut health and
Oh
good
yeah.
bacteria and bad
Mhm.
bacteria. Do you think it's important that people take probiotics and prebiotics, or can you get that naturally just from regular food?
Well, you can actually get the probiotics and pre. Okay, so to differentiate the two, what in layman's terms, a prebiotic is basically the food for the probiotic. It's the food for the good bacteria. So examples of prebiotics are things like chicory root, fiber. You know, that's the prebiotic. That's the actual food for what's in your probiotic, which is the bacteria. Now,
Mhm.
there's debates going back and forth saying, well, if you take a probiotic, what's the point? Because your gut's going to kill it before it gets to there. And I mean, and there is some truth to that, depending on the quality of the probiotic you're taking. But taking it still is beneficial, because if you get some of that milieu in your gut and you begin to change the way change the flora, so to speak, of the gut, where it's a
Mhm.
little bit healthier, then you stand a better chance of helping your gut and having a more healthy gut. Because I mean, I tell people all the time, you know what, there are two major ways in which you interact with the environment. One is through the skin on the outside,
Mhm.
and the other one is what you put in. And that's the way your body interacts with the environment. So you gotta watch what you put in, you know, what foods you put in your body, because those foods can help disrupt your gut microbiome and your gut lining, and can lead to inflammatory processes, which we have seen.
Yeah, and it just seems that the rates of obesity and autoimmune diseases
Hmm.
just keep
Hmm.
going up. I would imagine it has to do with a lot of the sugar that we consume in the American diet. I read that typically we should be only getting about 30 grams of sugar per day.
Per
That's the
day.
healthy amount. And the average American consumes over 70 grams of sugar every day. And it's just, I mean, it's obvious when when you're putting that amount of sugar into your body, you're going to be causing all sorts of things in your body. So if you could just tell us, I'm hearing a lot of things about like high fructose corn syrup obviously is not
Hmm.
good.
Hmm.
I'm now hearing that a lot of seed oils are not
Hmm.
good for your body. Tell us
Hmm.
some if you could just tell us some practical foods to we should stay away from and
Okay.
some ones that we should incorporate more into our diet.
So, with regards to the sugars, so yeah, you're right. So, sugars are everywhere, and they go by different names, whether it's pure cane sugar, whether it's corn syrup, whether it's high fructose corn syrup. So, I mean, they all go by different names, but they all amount to the same thing. So, we have to remember, when we say bad, we mean those processed carbohydrates. Those are the ones that we should kind of avoid, you know, and eat less of if you're eating a lot more of it. Now, for some people, they say, well, I don't eat carbs. I'm good. I don't eat sugar. I don't like candy. True, candy is one source, but you can also find those same sugars in, let's say, the drinks you like to drink, which is sodas or sweetened juices. You can even find it in baked goods you like to eat. You can find it in pasta. I mean, it's everywhere. And we do know that sugar is pro-inflammatory. So it's something that we should definitely be mindful of how much we put in. Now, does that mean I'm saying if your daughter has a birthday and there's a cake you can't have? No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is just be mindful of how much you're putting in and think about that and reduce that, because it is pro-inflammatory. So that's one thing. So avoiding what we call the pro-inflammatory foods, which I mentioned, anything that's hyper processed. I like to tell my patients, if you can't read the label, maybe you should rethink putting that food in your body. So if the label has 14 syllable words, which look like they belong in a science experiment,
monosodium,
all the different things, just
yeah.
kind of think twice, because I mean, the way my wife and I buy groceries is we definitely we read labels. And yeah, it takes grocery shopping a little longer in the past, but now we're used to it. But we know we get it. It's simple. You'll say tomatoes, whatever oil, and this. So okay, good. I can read that. I know what those things are. Now, does it mean I should be doing a ton of that? No, we still are mindful of how much you put in. Portion is a huge thing. And we know with the high amounts of sugar we eat, portion control can be a problem because of dysregulation of the gut. And that's why we're seeing rates of diabetes, on the rise, rates of heart disease on the rise. So it's important that we are very mindful of that. So foods to avoid are anything that's hyper processed or very processed. You want to get more, leafy greens. And I want to say, I mean, I know we're talking, and I'm loving to giving all the medical information, but I do want the listeners to realize that anything we discuss is for medical education. I want you guys to go back to your physician and say, hey, I heard this last night. What do you think? Or what should I be doing? This is just meant for medical education, just to get the conversation going, on ways you should begin to eat or begin to live a little better, and that's what we want to accomplish tonight by just kind of getting the message out. Because I know we're running into the big food holidays.
Yeah.
We're going into Turkey Day, and then we're going into Christmas, which is another big food holiday. So it's important that we just kind of stay mindful of what we put in.
Yeah. And you are you're trained in the field of obesity medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would imagine you work with clients and help them put together a plan to lose weight. Is there some tips that you can share with us other than the normal, exercise and eat healthy? For some people who have tried everything and just can't seem to lose weight, is that hormonal, or is it what do you normally find is the reason people are just struggling to lose weight?
So if someone is starting out on their weight loss journey, first and foremost, they have to be ready. So for most patients I work with, we have the intake where we talk and I say, hey, where are you at on the spectrum of readiness when it comes to losing weight? And that's a very important question, because it may end up frustrating the patient if I am trying to build something that they're not ready to move into. So it's important for the client or the patient to be able to say to me, all right, I'm sick and tired of ABC. I want to be XYZ, because I know at that point, yes, they have buy-in. But when I'm trying to, or if someone's trying to tell them you should, usually doesn't work as well, because I mean, they already know they should. So by us ramming it down their throat when they don't really want it at this time is not the best. So for most patients, we start off by having that discussion. What's your readiness? And I have met a couple where they weren't high up on the scale, and I was frank and said, you know what? I would love to work with you, but you are not mentally prepared, because it is a pretty big undertaking to make some of the changes that need to be made. And that's fine. I mean, they'll get there eventually, but the worst thing you can do, and that's a lot of fun in families where they'll complain that, oh, he eats too much or she eats too much. they have to be ready, and using, people first language, where, when I sit down, if someone has weight issues, I mean, I don't use that. What are you going to do about this weight? No, it's a team. You're with me. So, so what are we going to do? What's our next step? And I kind of make it where, and I tell them, you're leading this team. I'm just here as your coach. I'm here to help you, and provide the medical advice that we need, and even medications if needed, to get you to the finish line. But I'm here to help you. That's my goal, to work with you, and get you where you need to be. So 80% of weight loss is diet. It starts off with diet. So I'll tell my patients who are just starting out, don't worry about working out. And everyone looks at me like, what? I'm like, yeah, no. We're not focusing on that. Let's get your diet right first. Okay. So I don't care if you don't walk. I don't care right now. We'll get to that point. But let's see what we can do with the simpler things. So baby steps. Because most people, honestly, Colin, they didn't put that weight on in 2 weeks.
Right.
It's usually years.
Yeah.
And even with the weight, there's a lot of emotion built in with obesity, a lot of emotion. I find that just asking the right questions, for the most part, it's very rare where someone comes to see me and we have that discussion and we get deep, where there's not some level of emotion, whether it's tears or anger, that they express about what they've been dealing with or why they are where they are, and being able to uncover that is a huge help to them, because now they're like, they exhale. They're like, okay, whew, let's make that next step. So it's about making a safe space. And I'll be honest, most physicians or healthcare providers, we weren't taught. Yeah, no, we weren't taught. No, and it's not because we're mean or anything. It's because there was never that emotional intelligence training when it comes to dealing with someone who has, the disease of obesity. And that's how I refer to it. It's a disease of obesity. When you think of obesity, it's excess adipose tissue in the body. And what we know of the adipose tissue is that, which is fat tissue, sorry, the adipose tissue is like an endocrine gland in its own. It creates chemokines, it creates neurotransmitters, it creates everything. And we have to treat obesity as a disease. And that's through the training that we might, and my wife and I are both board certified in obesity medicine. That's what we realize. So telling someone the cliche, like you just said, right? Just exercise and eat right and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of nuances. There's a lot of biology and physiology that goes into treating someone who has excess body fat, where you have to make sure that you know where they're coming from, you know where they want to go, and you understand the science. So it's not just giving a pill, or no, sitting down and figuring out, okay, what's the next best step? And that's part of what we do. That's a huge part of what we do initially. Eventually we'll get to the physical activity, but we never start off by saying, just exercise and you'll be fine, but until more and more docs and other healthcare providers begin to be comfortable with that conversation, that's the only way we're going to see things change, because people are afraid that if I say something to him or her, I'm going to be fat shaming them. And that's not what we're about. As your physician, I'm supposed to tell you, hey, Colin, you might have a heart attack, right? Or, hey, Gina, hey, Tim, this can happen. Same thing with excess body fat. I'm supposed to be able to say, hey, Todd, you know what? You stand the risk of having a stroke if you keep this, if we keep this weight on. So what are your thoughts on trying something to lose the weight? And invariably, most people will tell you, I've tried everything. That's what they come. And then your job is to figure out, okay, let's tease it apart. What have you tried? What were the pros? What were the cons? And kind of work through it.
And I'm hearing a lot about this drug called Ozempic.
Ozempic, yeah.
Is that something you prescribe? Is it something that can help?
So we use Ozempic for diabetes, but its literal twin brother is called Wegovy. So Wegovy is the exact same molecule as Ozempic, just packaged packaged differently in a different pen, and they call it Wegovy. And Wegovy is FDA approved for weight loss. So when you think of Ozempic is a GLP-1. It's a peptide. Love peptides. It's a GLP-1, which is meant to help with weight loss. Now, your body, now all of us, we have a natural GLP-1 that we produce in our gut. The trick is the one that we make only lasts a few seconds, a few minutes at best, right? It's in the small intestine, if I'm not mistaken, where it's secreted. Okay, so what the farm companies have done is basically figured out how to mass produce that almost a twin molecule, put it in a pen, but have it last for 7 days. Now, somebody may say, oh my God, isn't that dangerous? 7 days? Not necessarily. Here's the thing. People who go through, and most patients don't know, when you have bariatric surgery, which is also a good option for those who are trying to lose weight.
That's when they staple your stomach.
There's different ones. There's a Roux-en Y where they reattach they cut out half the stomach and reattach the duodenum and they cut out. So the Roux-en-Y. There's the gastric sleeve where they basically shrink the entire stomach down and they staple it. So what happens after the bariatric surgeries is your natural production of the same chemical GLP-1 goes up. So that's a very large part of why patients lose a bunch of weight after. Now, the way Ozempic or then that's the trade name, sorry. The generic name is semaglutide. The way semaglutide works is on a couple different levels. So one, it works in the gut by delaying gastric emptying. Now, what does that mean? Slows down the way food moves through the gut. So that way you feel fuller longer. So you see, it goes back to satiety. It also works in the brain, in the satiety center, and have you, I'm not really hungry right now. So they work together. And as we know, as more and more studies come out of semaglutide, especially, we're seeing that it has benefits for pancreatic protection, where it protects the beta cells in the pancreas. You also have receptors in the heart, where there's some studies that have shown that patients actually who, I think there were a couple small studies where they gave IV drips of semaglutide, if I'm not mistaken, to post-CHF patients, congenital heart failure, and those patients did better because you have those same receptors in the heart, because you have those receptors everywhere, sorry. So there is more and more data coming out that's showing incredible benefits of using the semaglutide molecule and its cousins, there are a few cousins out there, to help with the disease of obesity. But they were initially made for diabetes, and they work very well for diabetes as well.
Nadine Armstrong is asking, is it best to have a blood test done before losing weight to make sure hormones are balanced and one is eating the proper foods for their blood type?
So I'm guessing she's asking for blood work in general, or
yeah, I guess
you know what? I'll just answer.
So the hormones, just to make sure your hormones are balanced, because if your hormones,
you should. You should. I mean, when you're doing a weight loss assessment or a treatment assessment, you should always, or at least we do, always have baseline blood work, because you want to make sure that you've gotten to the root cause, or you understand where this is coming from. Because there are many causes for obesity. They're, like you said, hormonal causes. So you find patients could have a thyroid imbalance and not know it. And that could be causing their issues with the weight. They could have issues with testosterone, estrogen, the sex hormones, and that could be causing it. They could have a cortisol issue, and that could be causing it. So it all depends on typically most times when you see a physician or your healthcare provider and they do the evaluation, we will do a set of baseline blood work to kind of get a feel as to where you are at in this. Because as your body changes, your blood work will change as well. So it's something that we have to be keeping an eye on. And even some of the medications that we prescribe, we should be monitoring, or we do, well, at least monitor blood levels for certain markers to make sure we're not throwing anything else out of whack by trying to get rid of, one particular issue. So yeah, I would definitely recommend eating for blood type. I've heard of that, and I've had some patients try that, where based on the blood type, you do find out what your blood type is. And there's a couple of books out there that say, if you're AB, you should be eating this. If you're, B, you should be, yeah. So, I mean, that's an option. I don't have many patients who do that, because for me, we start off with portion control. Portion. If once we can get that down, whittle the amount they eat, and they see the benefits, then we begin to increase, physical activity and bring in some newer modalities in.
Are you a proponent of of low carbohydrate diets, such as the ketone diet, where primarily proteins and fats in your diet. What's your thoughts on that?
So the ketogenic diet, it does work really well. And once again, that's very patient specific. So there are certain patients I wouldn't recommend it to. So if you are someone who has a very, very, very high cholesterol, or you already have a propensity to have high cholesterol because of a familial issue, then I'd kind of shy away from pushing you too much. Because what I've found is, I mean, to do the ketogenic diet properly, you kind of have to be really strict. And some patients think the keto diet is just bacon, 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 which
Right.
you got to be careful with the saturated fats,
Yeah.
So it's something that you should be very careful of. So it all depends on the client, and that goes back to labs. So if I do blood work on someone and they're fasting and their cholesterol is through the roof, I'm going to be like, well, maybe we shouldn't start off with going strictly ketogenic. Now, with regards to ketogenic, that is literally, you're right, extremely low carb. So you're doing about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 70% fat and only like 5 or 10% of the rest of the actual macros is carbs. I give them more of a moderate way where they do 25% carbohydrate, more of the long acting carbs, not the rapid ones like the glucose and the fructoses, just to kind of help get that going. But we do know going lower carbohydrate does work pretty well to help patients lose that excess body fat that they have. I mean, primarily my major concern is that visceral fat, the fat around your liver, the intestines. That's the fat that you can't pinch. It's the one underneath the abs. That's the one that we know, houses all the bad actors, the bad inflammatory markers, the chemokines, the neurotransmitters, the bad ones. So if we can shrink that, I'm happy,
So the fat actually has neurotransmitters that send messages to your brain to eat more. Is that?
Well, you have dysregulation. So when you have excess body fat, or when there is obesity involved, all right, a lot of the natural signals obviously are dysregulated. So for example, let's talk about insulin. So when someone is hyperinsulinemic, that typically is because your body is losing its sensitivity to your own natural insulin production, because typically of the excess body fat that you have. So you're not getting as much bang for buck from your own insulin. So your pancreas is like, all right, let's crank out some more, and it just keeps making it up. So if I were to do an insulin level on someone who has, high insulin or metabolic syndrome, I might find that insulin level is up. They may not be diabetic as yet, but they're approaching it, because every system has a breaking point. So this is why we say, okay, let's shrink down, because the insulin's trying to work on all this excess that it has, and it's not, the signal is not working. And because of obesity, and let's say you do have a hyperinsulinemic state, you can see dysregulation in the liver with regards to making sugar. Now, most people don't know their liver makes sugar, but it's supposed to do it in a fasting state. But once you get all those hormonal imbalances happening, the liver just begins to make. And so you always have that higher sugar state, which is, once again, pro-inflammatory.
Are you a proponent of intermittent fasting?
Yes. So intermittent fasting is a good option. I'll tell you a story, Colin. So I had this one patient who tried it for himself, and he told me, "Doc, I'm gonna try it." I'm like, "Oh, good job." So when I saw him for follow-up a couple of weeks later, "Hey, how you been? How's it going?" He's like, "Oh, it's rough." So I'm like, "Okay, how is it rough?" So he was doing basically a fast. So for intermittent fasting, most people don't realize, it's basically allowing your body a large amount of time where you are not actively eating. Okay, so usually for bang for buck, it is recommended to stay around 14 hours fasting, 10 hours eating. So but he was doing more of a 6-hour feeding window and an 18-hour fast, which is not bad. I mean, if you can tolerate it, have at it. But when I asked him, okay, so because he didn't see any weight loss, and he didn't see his numbers didn't change much in terms of anything that he was looking at. So I asked him, so take me through a day in your life. So he said, okay, so here's what I do. So his feeding window was from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, which is okay.
Yep.
So he had lunch at 12, right? Which would be a burger from the local burger place, right? With soda, right? He had a snack at 1:30. He'd have another meal at 3. Then he'd have something at 4:30. And he did dinner at 5:30. And then have a last minute snack at like 6.
Yeah, how many calories? It sounds like
no, but that's the thing. So
yeah.
when he was talking to me, I didn't say a word. I was like, and I'm writing it down. And I was like, okay, so you told me you put down 4,000 calories in 6 hours? He's like, yeah, but I'm going to be fasting for 18. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work because what happens is, because I told him, you realize your body still has to process all those calories that you put in. So you put in more calories than you normally would in a 6-hour window, but your body still has to work on that all throughout the night because it didn't just disappear. So that's one thing I tell people. So the trick with intermittent fasting is what happens to people is calorie restriction. So they run out of time, and that's okay. As long as you're not starving or you're not hurting from it, that's okay. Because calorie restriction forces the body to go into autophagy. What autophagy is cleanup mode. And when you allow your body at least 14 hours of cleanup, it gets rid of the bad cells. Your brain gets to dump a bunch of the lymphatics. You get to get that cleanse, so to speak, on the inside, which is important because how most of us eat now is up at 7, breakfast at 7:30, snack at 10, lunch at 12. Then we have maybe a mid-afternoon snack or pick me up at 2:30. Get home at 5, eat dinner 5:30. Then while you're watching the evening news, I'll snack on something at 8, bed by 9. Mm-hmm. The problem is that's a lot of eating throughout the day. So even though you go to bed by 9, you still have some of that which your gut has to work on while you sleep. So you never really have a true fast. But having a hard stop with, and I would say, like personally, when I do it, with at least 3 hours of nothing by mouth before bed, that's even better. Mm-hmm. And obviously during intermittent fasting, you should hydrate. Yeah. Drink lots of water, because that's going to help your system because water is good for homeostasis too.
Yeah. Whenever I'm about to shoot a movie, I do intermittent fasting, helps lean me out. And
yep.
Because camera puts on that 10 pounds, man.
No, yeah, but it is definitely a good modality, and I mean for those patients, and they can look into it, especially if they have cholesterol issues, blood sugar issues. Mm-hmm. Obviously you want to approach that with the guidance of your qualified healthcare provider because some people are not good candidates for intermittent fasting because of certain medications they're on. Okay. Because of certain ways they have to eat because of health maladies. Yeah. So you always want to check with your healthcare provider and say, hey, is intermittent fasting good for me? And I mean, hopefully they know. And they say, well, no, because of A, B, C, D. Oh, yes, it's a good option. But make sure you tweak this and this to stay safe.
Okay. So you've mentioned peptides.
Yes.
Tell us, what are they? Do we need them? Like this whole industry is exploding now, and you're hearing these buzzwords, peptides and nootropics. Mm-hmm. Tell us about what all this stuff is.
So what a nootropic basically is a nutraceutical or a medication or something that is used to help boost or improve cognitive and brain function. That's all a nootropic is. Now we have some naturally occurring ones, some easy ones that you can get. Some examples like fish oil. Like regular fish oil that has nootropic properties just based on the fact of the DHA and the EPA in it. So that's the base molecules of fish oil. That's a good one. Another one people might know of is resveratrol. And there are some studies to show resveratrol does have good effects.
Red wine, right?
From red wine as well as blueberries. I think the skin of grapes. So yeah, so you can get these naturally. I mean, you can also see caffeine has nootropic qualities, where from coffee or preferably green tea as well, which has caffeine. It's the phytonutrient can help with, improving brain function to a certain extent. So there are naturally occurring ones that you can actually have as part of your diet already. And of course, there's some you can buy the trick with supplements is tell my patients, do your research on the company, look them up, because I mean, they're finding it's not a regulated area as yet by the FDA, because I mean, there's so many claims out there that's hard to keep up. So I think the FDA is kind of keeping hands off for now, unless people begin to get hurt. But the problem is some people are doing way too many of these things that they could be hurting themselves, not even know it. So you want to do your research on the company, look at their track record, look at where they're made, you want to look for third-party testing. So if you want to buy a supplement, go to their website and see, do they do third-party testing, or call them. I mean, you want to put this in your body, right? So call them. Hey, do you guys do third-party testing? What's that? Click, hang up, and that way because third-party testing just means that they've made their supplement and they've given it to a different lab, which is not on the payroll of the company, in terms of they're not owned by the same company, and they will test it and say, okay, Colin, you claim that this has 50 milligrams of substance P. It does. And there's nothing else in there. Here you go. And that's all they do. So they'll just verify that what you claim is in there is in there. And that's a good, you want to make sure you do that. So that's nootropics, and there are many of them out there. But the main idea behind nootropics is to help with brain function. Now, what I will say is taking a nootropic is not going to solve everything, because you can't take one and still be living not so healthy life, like couch potato, not exercising, not getting good sleep. So you should think of, people should think of nootropics as an adjunct to what they're already doing to improve the way they function. So getting good sleep, and the cliche is 8 hours, but studies have proven it is 8 hours. Get good sleep, eat healthy, move, get active. Once you have dialed in those, meditation is important. Then you can say, okay, you know what? I'm doing everything I can, but I still need a little bit of push, or I feel like I do. Then talk to your physician. Say, hey, you know what? I'm doing A, B, C, D, E. What else can I do? Because I still feel, and of course, testing will be done. And if that's all good, and you feel like, okay, I do want to try a nootropic, then obviously let them know, because a lot of the quote unquote nootropics or nutraceuticals or even supplements, they can interfere with your regular medications. So be very careful. Before you start anything, always check with your doc. And my patients do it to me all the time. They call me and say, hey, I want to try this. I'm like, what is it? Send it to me. I look it up and I'll say, yay. Or I'll say, well, you're on this other medication for X. This new thing is going to reduce the effect of X. So I don't think it's not a good idea. And they're like, okay, cool. Just want to make sure.
And peptides are essentially amino acids that are strung together, the building blocks of protein.
Yep. Right? So when you think of peptides,
what do they actually do? Do they improve this cell function, like mitochondria, that sort of activity within the cell?
So when you think of peptides go back to cellular medicine. It goes back to the cell. So what a peptide is, like you said, a peptide is a string of amino acids, not necessarily a string, but a group of amino acids put together in certain shapes or conformations to achieve a purpose, whether it be a hormone, whether it be signaling, whether it be building blocks. The fact is they have a purpose. So a lot of peptides, and we already have 7,000 peptides in our body. I think that's the number we're at. An example of a well-known peptide, Colin, is insulin. Insulin is a peptide.
Okay.
People don't know that. The Ozempic, that's a peptide. So we're seeing more and more peptides coming into regular medicine, but you have these on the outside which work really well. So I just, like my certification is in peptide medical therapeutics. It was done out of my own interest. So I've been researching peptides for a couple of years now, just to kind of see, because when they came on the market, I was like, that's interesting, and following the science. And the beauty about peptides is if you understand the science, everything makes sense. Everything fits together nicely. And you can use them for various things. Most of the ones I use are either to accomplish body optimization through weight loss, improving muscle function, improving cognitive function. So, I mean, and there's other different ones, that newer ones coming out all the time. I mean, I can't even keep up with the ones that are coming out.
So would you recommend people taking like peptides for weight loss? Is there one you can recommend for people?
Oh, well, I mean, we already have the semaglutide, which is basically what Ozempic and Wegovy is, brand names, but that's a good one. Semaglutide is a very good peptide. There are also other peptides, if we're looking for weight loss and body optimization, that do growth hormone releasing hormone, GHRHs or GHRPs, growth hormone releasing peptides. Now, I know the word growth hormone is in there, and that's a big no-no. But the beauty about the peptides that I use, in my practice, and a lot of docs who are on the same spectrum as me, is that we're not trying to go super physiologic. The idea behind using peptide therapeutics is to get the body back into homeostasis. So as you live and work on Earth right now, a lot of things are attacking you left, right, and center. And especially growth hormone, which we call the master hormone, everyone's levels begin to dip as they age. Everyone. It's a natural occurrence. So adding in a peptide that's going to help your body go back to making its natural amount, this once you optimize other things as well, is not a bad idea. It's something that is natural because your body recognizes. And using a lot of these peptides, they don't last in the system for more than 15, 20 minutes to maybe an hour, and then they're out. So your body is still able to have its natural pulses of the hormones. So that's why it's important to talk to someone who's understands the science, and be very, very careful. I know, online, if you Google peptides, there's always someone selling you something, and you never know what you're getting. So I like to tell my patients, hey, be careful. Don't just go and buy it off because Tom John said, hey, I took this and look at me now, and you can buy it for $59.95.
What brand do you recommend?
Well, it's not really a brand. It's a prescription. So you have to work with someone who understands, and work with a good compounding pharmacy that third party tests their peptides. That has a good track record. That you can say, okay, good. Hey, patient had a batch of this. This is what happened. Not quite sure, and you can follow through. Just be very, very, because there's different protocols that you can use. There are different ways to treat. I know nowadays people like to know. I just want to know how much to take every day.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on what you're trying to accomplish, so there really is no set proven protocol. It's like taking an aspirin. You take an aspirin and you're good. But with the peptides, there's nuances. There's an understanding of what it is Colin's trying to accomplish. Well, Colin wants to improve X. Okay, so if he wants to improve X, we have to make sure we get this in balance, so that way he's good. So, but yeah, the peptide therapies, I think you're right. It's exploding, and it's made a huge difference in patients' lives, and the one people I treat with it, and they have seen improvements in sleep, functioning. So it's just a matter of understanding the science. So talking to someone who understands what it is you're trying to accomplish and how to get there. So for weight loss, I mean, there's even some for cognitive health too that you can use, and there are some for inflammation. One of my favorites for inflammation is BPC 157, and BPC is body protection compound, and it works really well for the gut. It comes in an oral form, and that's one that in the right setting, with the right plan in place, can work really well for clients and patients. Oh yeah, peptides.
And peptides, you need a prescription from a doctor.
Ideally, yes. Now, like I said, you can go online and buy peptides or from some other place that that'll claim. I would shy away because you need someone who understands and is watching, and knows your medical history, knows what you're dealing with, and say, okay, good. Here's the dose I recommend. Here's why.
Yeah.
Get it from this place. Because I know there's some like research stuff people can get, and like I've seen it, and I've been to those what do you call those like forums where they talk about it, and I'm shocked to hear it, and I'm like, who's that person pushing that dose? Yeah. It's a super physical. Oh, that's not safe, and it can get scary.
Is melatonin a peptide?
Melatonin that's a very good question. Well, melatonin itself is one that we use more for sleep. That's a pretty good question, Colin. I've never done much digging into melatonin, but if it has amino acids at its base, then you can pretty much say, or peptide bonds, then you can pretty much say it falls into that family.
I'm not sure if you'd be able to answer this. Is melatonin does it actually work, or is it something that is...
No, it does work. Melatonin does work. Yeah.
Okay.
It does work. We use it primarily for patients who have issues with falling asleep or need to stay asleep. I like to let patients know, hey, you know what? But if you're already on something, or you were on something pretty strong for sleep, you may not get the same bang for buck with melatonin. Yeah. So it's an option for patients to try, if they want. I mean, there were a few studies that showed melatonin did help with viral infections. So, but once again, they're small studies. Yeah. So there's more data, more research has to be done into melatonin and its uses, but we use it primarily to help people with getting calm before sleep,
Okay. And as we're getting close to the end here, I still have a few more questions.
That's fine. No, go ahead.
Is a vegan diet healthy for you?
Yes. Okay. So with regards to diets, and let's just tackle them both. So you have vegan on one end, and then everyone knows about the carnivore diet on the other end.
Right.
So the two ends of the spectrum. With regards to your gut, it's about variety. So for some patients who go vegan, it's usually because of an intolerance of the meat class or something, or a religious reason, and that's okay too, but even when you go vegan, you still want to make sure that you're trying to bring in as much variety as possible within the vegosphere, if that's a word. I just made some up. Same thing for the carnivore diet. You want to make sure you're getting that much variety, with your diet. So for some patients, they can do very well on the vegan diet, so it all depends on your chemistry and why you decide to make that change. And obviously, the one way to know is to keep track of see your physician regularly, get blood work at the regular intervals needed, just so you can keep track,
Yeah. Any last minute advice you'd give to people out there? Is there like should people be taking supplements every day? Is it, other than the obvious stuff of, like you said, working out, eating mindfully?
So supplements are you got to be careful with supplements, because even too much supplements can damage the liver, and we don't want to damage the liver. We only get one. So I would say, if you have an intolerance to a certain food group where that nutrient comes from, then maybe you should think about, trying a supplement, or a texture issue. The main thing is we try to push patients to get it from the diet, live with that variety, keep the gut happy, because we don't want people spending thousands of dollars on supplements and getting no bang for buck because they're not absorbing it, and when it comes to supplements too, just like peptides, they work as hard as you do. So you don't just take them and sit on the couch, arms up, and say, yeah, I just took my vitamins. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. No, you have to work at it. You have to begin to kind of get things going, because the body is a very smart machine. If you give the body excess vitamins, Colin, and you don't work out or you don't do anything on the healthy side, it's not going to use them. Why? You gave me all the supplements, Colin, but what am I supposed to do with it? We're on the couch 24 hours a day. We're chilling. So it's important to make it well balanced. And yeah, you can definitely take supplements. You don't want to do too much antioxidants or too many supplements. So you kind of want to vary it. So take a break every couple of weeks. Allow your body time to detox a bit, then go back to it.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, Dr. Morris, thank you so much for your wisdom and for your time. I'm sure we learned a lot here. One more question. I believe I saw it earlier. It has to do with, a lot of people, myself included, just deal with, constant, just stress in life. And, I can feel my heart will race if, like, with auditions and getting ready for films, and I feel like the cortisol levels in my blood probably spike through the roof sometimes. So I've done, I do some meditation.
Hmm.
Is there anything that you'd recommend other than meditation or just breathe, like maybe breathing exercises that can help with stress reduction? What do you talk to your clients, your patients?
So a lot of patients deal with. You're right. We live in a stressed culture. We do. I mean, I see it. Especially the last 2 years, we won't even talk about that. That's been a big stress in itself for a lot of patients. So, I
Mhm.
mean, doing things like meditation. I mean, and you don't have to get into the full lotus on the floor and hands up and have the incense burning. You don't have to do all that. Now, if that is part of your process, of course, have at it.
Mhm.
Do it. But the idea behind meditation is to help lower those stress levels because we know stress will break a system being your body. So being able to kind of find the time to go
Mhm.
for a walk. Like for me personally, like my form of quote unquote meditation is hitting the gym. I love it. So and that's just me. Someone else, it might be going out taking pictures in nature,
Mhm.
or for somebody else, it'll be deep breathing. And that's a good thing to do. Deep breathing is important. Being mindful of your breath, like taking a deep breath, holding it, and exhaling. Just kind of practicing those types of breathing. And there are tons of videos online and YouTube that'll teach you breath work. That's a good place to start, actually. So
Mhm.
getting that in is a good place to start. And looking at your relationships. I mean, there's some relationships that we all have that we know we need to cut. but you know what? It's tough. And it
Yeah.
might be that uncle who comes for the holidays and like, oh God, this guy again. It could be that guy, but sometimes you have to distance yourself from certain relationships in order to allow yourself to heal,
Mhm.
because yes, they're your so and so or whatever, but allowing yourself some time to heal for your own mentals, for your own
Mhm.
sanity, and for your own mental well-being is very important.
Yeah.
It's something that I mean, we tell our staff that on a daily basis. So at my office, we do every morning we do gratitude. So we get together as a team, and everybody has to give one thing, including myself, that you're grateful for. And I don't
Mhm.
care, and we don't care what it is. We're not trying to make you say, "Oh, I'm grateful for world peace." No, if it is, I got to work this morning on time.
Mhm.
That's it. If it is, oh, my husband made me breakfast this morning. That's it. But just being able to find something that you're grateful for,
Yeah.
it kind of puts you in that place of zen, because then you kind of realize that, okay, I do have a lot to be grateful for, even though the world may feel like it sucks. But the fact is, practicing gratitude is a good start, and that's what we do every single morning. I say, hey guys, it's gratitude time. Who's grateful? And we go through one by one. And like I said, no judgment. Whatever, if you're grateful because you found your nail polish, that's gratitude. That's good.
Yeah.
It's important. To the little things matter.
Yep. Simple but effective.
It is. It is. It
Yeah.
is. It is. Because I mean, stress is everywhere. Colin, it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's everywhere.
Yep. All right, Dr. Morris. Now is the part of the show where we get to hear about your movie knowledge.
Ooh.
This
Okay.
is the particular pick six, where I'm going to ask you what your favorite movies are, and
Okay.
just test your knowledge on some film. All right.
Okay. Let's go. Let's see. Let's see.
All
Let's see if
right.
I can do this. See if I can
So
do this.
again, this segment is brought to us by Particular. Particular is my good buddy Todd Courtney's app that he created. And it's an amazing opportunity to curate your favorite movies and share them with your friends. It's a social media movie curating app. And you can go there and swipe left and right, similar to like these dating apps. And then you can save your lit list and you can put movies down in the shit list.
Nice.
So it's a great way to save the movies that you want to watch so that when you
Yeah.
go sit down to watch Netflix or whatever, you've got right there at your fingertips some great recommendations. And it's fun to connect with people on there as well. So download the Particular app today. So, Dr. Morris, what is your
Yes.
favorite movie of all time?
Ooh, favorite movie of all time. So I have to go with, and not movie, but kind of a couple. Star Trek.
Oh, okay. Did
Star
you
Trek.
watch
So
the TV show growing up as a kid?
I watched the TV show, and I have loved every single movie that came out. So even the new ones with Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can watch those over and over and over again. So yeah, so I'm a big Trekkie person.
You're
I'll be
Chucky.
honest. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge Catherine Janeway fan. For those of you who know Voyager, loved Catherine Janeway. You know,
Okay.
but then again, of course, you have the classics, Jean-Luc Picard.
Yep.
You know, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
come on. And then I will give hats off to the original Captain Kirk. William Shatner. So
Yep.
yeah, but yeah, I've always my wife messes with me though. So if I'm watching Star Trek, she'll come and be like, "Oh, is that Star Wars?" I'm like, "No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. It's not.
It's Star Trek.
It's not."
There's a difference.
I'm like, "You know it. I told you what I'm watching." She's like, "Oh, so when are the aliens coming?" I'm like, "They're everywhere." Are you watching the same thing? So she will intentionally come and ruin the movie for me. When is ET gonna show up? I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
Yes. Leave me alone to watch my
I know.
Star Trek.
Mhm.
What was your favorite movie growing up as a kid?
Huh. As a kid, favorite movie? Well, it was more. Oh, that's interesting. Because as a kid, I was heavy into kung fu movies.
Like Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I'm talking the old school ones. So I would look forward like every Sunday because I mean, growing up in the Caribbean, I mean, I didn't have as much in the way of like cable TV. So we had a few local channels, and every Sunday was kung fu. From 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. they'd show a movie, and I always knew, or it was always the same thing over and over again. But the villain was always someone named White Tiger, and he had this long beard. And Colin, I'm telling you, every Sunday I would gear up to watch who's gonna fight White Tiger.
Okay.
And it was always the same thing. This young guy comes, he hasn't lost his way. He finds his master. The master trains him. White Tiger kills the master, and he has to avenge the master. And he goes to fight White Tiger. So for me, it will be kung fu flicks, old school kung fu flicks. And the Bruce Lee ones, of course, yeah. But I'm talking the old school ones where everyone is flying for some reason.
Okay.
So yeah,
all right,
love those.
Cool. What is your favorite comedy?
Right now, hats off to Anchorman.
Anchorman, that's mine.
Love it.
Good job. Yeah.
Colin, I love it. Anchorman.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. The Legend of Ron Burgundy. I mean, come on. I mean, if I ever become an anchor, that's what maybe not. I shouldn't say that on TV. No. But yeah, love Anchorman.
Yeah. Good choice. What's your favorite holiday movie?
Ooh. I would have to say The Christmas Story.
Yes.
I do love The Christmas Story. And I mean, I've watched a lot of the different iterations, and I still love it. Yeah. I still love it. It's a classic. And even when I was a young one growing up, like, I mean, some of the scenes I look back were kind of scary, especially when you got the last spirit that came and it was death. And I was like, but it's nice. I mean, I love Christmas altogether. Love. I mean, my family is big on Christmas back home in the Caribbean. So we had the Christmas tree, we had everything going. And I mean, just the whole atmosphere during that time of year, everyone is nicer. You get to watch the movies, you get to, it would be nice if that was all year round, but yeah, it is what it is.
So Christmas Story are you talking about the old black and white?
Yes.
A Wonderful Life?
No. Sorry. I meant Scrooge. Sorry, I meant Scrooge.
Scrooge.
Yes. That's the one. Sorry, yeah. But
got it.
It's a good one too. I do like that one, but I love this the Scrooge one. That was called A Christmas Story, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know what? I'm Googling it right now.
Tell me.
Because
I think it's called Come on, people, help us out, folks. Help us out.
With little Ralphie, you'll shoot
Ralphie. That's a different one. That's different. Yeah,
Yes.
I know that one. I know that one. And apparently there's another one that just came out. It's called A Christmas Carol. Thank you, Chris Webster. That's the one.
Carol.
Christmas Carol.
That's what it is. Yeah.
That's the one. Boom.
Okay. Had to get it. Had to
Oh
nail
no!
it.
Hey, we got to get from your fans. They helped us out.
Yeah.
A Christmas Carol. That was it. Yeah. Love
Yes.
that one.
A Christmas Story is with little Ralphie.
With little Ralphie. Yeah, you shoot your eye out.
You'll shoot your eye out. Yes. My dad made us watch that every Christmas.
Really?
Yes. It was our tradition. Yes. All right. Who is your favorite actor or male character in a movie?
Old school or new school? So new school, I'm going to say Colin, obviously.
Of course.
Come on now. But second to Colin, I'm going to give it to Denzel Washington.
Good choice.
Love Denzel. I mean, even in the older stuff, the newer stuff he's doing, just love that. And like the characters that he plays in movies, amazing. He really delivers. He delivers when it comes to just his acting. It's just it's amazing to watch.
Yep. And who's your favorite actress or female character?
Charlize Theron.
Good one.
Love Charlize Theron.
Do you have a favorite?
Very, very. I prefer her in her evil roles because I think she delivers that power a lot better than some of the other ones I've seen her in. Like I saw her in like Tully. Tully was good, but like in the more recent roles that she did, like The Huntsman, where she was the queen, the evil queen. So I do like more of that powerful character where I think the actor can go a little bit against their grain because I mean playing an evil character is tough. Yeah. I mean you get typecasted. I know some actors in Hollywood now, every movie, because they got put into certain roles early on in their careers, I can't see them doing anything else but that. Yeah. And so it's tough I'm sure for them to kind of break out. But she's definitely.
Awesome. So I have two last questions for you.
All right, buddy, let's do it.
All right. So you're an entrepreneur. In addition to being a doctor, you and your wife have created this practice.
Yes.
You're raising two boys, right?
Yep.
For anyone out there who is an entrepreneur or business owner or someone who's, obviously just a parent out there, what would you say is some of the best advice you've gotten in terms of staying committed, not giving up, and just overcoming challenges in your life that you've faced?
I mean, if you can have a good partner, I mean, have because like you said, my wife and I, we're both physicians here in Tucson. And I mean, we have our own practice. I mean, we even have a secondary practice where she does a lot of medical aesthetics out of. And it's just having that other person that has your back. Now it doesn't have to be a partner, it doesn't have to be a wife or a husband. It can be a business partner, but someone you can trust, someone to help, hold your feet to the fire when you say you're going to get something done. Someone to be there with you when crap kind of hits the fan. Because I mean, once you're in this entrepreneurial journey, it's not for everyone. It is stressful. It can be tedious, especially in the last 2 years where everything kind of grounded down to a halt. It is important to have that person in your corner, someone who is going to be there to help you navigate. And honestly, mistakes happen. I mean, it's business. Something smelled like it was going to be a great deal. And then you get into it and you realize, oh my God, this is a turd. Or, you just have to, be measured in what you do. And when the bad things happen, don't dwell. Be able to tell yourself, okay, I need to figure out how to get out of this mess, and move on to the next thing, because a lot of times we spend too much time in the shoulda, woulda, coulda stage where I shouldn't have done that. No, it's done. It's done. Now we have to move on. Now we have to move on to the next thing. And it's good when you have a partner who's with you, who's able to say, all right, you know what? We messed up on that one, or that wasn't a great choice, or clean up. Okay, let's move on. So you're both kind of helping each other through that versus someone who's doom and gloom. Oh my God, I can't believe we did that. And it doesn't help, especially when you have kids. I mean, you want your kids to understand that you are living with stressors in business, but that is not the end of the world. And you want to have them as part of it. So our sons are frequently at our practice. It's so funny. My younger one, about 2 boys, he wants to be a plastic surgeon. I didn't put the idea in his head though, but he wants to be a plastic surgeon, and he's asking questions about what we do and everything else. And I mean, he's the first one to learn about the cell and kind of bring these things to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, you sure you want to do this? It was so funny when my wife was doing her training in hormone therapy, to using pellets. He was right there with her, and he he got the device, and he's implanting doing the training with her on the eggplant, because you have to practice on some kind of fruit insertion technique, and he was doing it, and I was like, what's wrong with this kid?
Yeah.
No, but you want them to be a part of your business. A lot of kids don't see that now. And I think it's, especially if you're an entrepreneur, bring them in. I mean, yeah, it's one extra step, but I think kids have a better understanding of what you're doing, and I think a better appreciation for what you're doing when they see you working as hard as you are, and they can say, okay, no, I get it why mom and dad are doing what they're doing because of ABC, because they got to get this ready. And we even give them jobs. Hey, come do this, and I'll pay you something. Now they're negotiating, which is annoying. So, it's like they have lawyers now. It's like, this is way below minimum wage. I don't think I can do this, Dad. I don't think I can do this.
Are you teaching them about stem cells?
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, they are learning about that, because I mean, we talk about peptides in the house so much, it's annoying. So it's so funny. So on the way to work, like, I listen to a couple good podcasts on peptides. I even listen to, like, I have my own lectures that have been part of my training that I have on repeat. And my boys, I drive them to school, and it's like a 35-minute drive to school from home. And I pop it in, and they're sitting there in the car with me, and we have peptides or cellular medicine running on repeat. And I know they're hearing it, so they're soaking it up, because I get random questions. Oh, Dad, what does such and such do? I'm like, and I forget, wait, how do you know? Oh, that's right, you were in the car. Okay. And then we kind of have the discussion. Now, my older one, he's more in engineering. He does not want to mess with blood at all. Okay. So he's heavy into, like, computer engineering and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. So real quick, just bringing up stem cells.
Yes.
So you are working with R3 now.
Yes.
You've been helping out with some of our medical training.
Yes.
How long have you known about stem cells, and is this something you incorporate into your practice in Tucson? Is it, you feel effective for the patients that you've treated with?
So the beautiful thing about stem cells, yes, I have used them in my practice. Yes. The beautiful thing about stem cells is they are signaling. Now, when we think of stem cells, most people think, oh, I'll just put the stem cell in there and it's just going to grow new things. We're not there yet. We haven't gotten there yet. Well, what we do know is that with stem cells, it's about signaling. And the reason why I say that is that peptides are about signaling. It's about giving the body the signal to be able to heal and repair itself in that area. It doesn't mean we're going to grow new stuff, but we're going to give the building blocks of the milieu that the body can begin to get the good signaling to begin to kind of reduce or improve on whatever it is we're trying to treat. So using them in combination with a lot of the peptide therapies is worked, or even using things like PRP, will help, because these are growth factors. So it's an up and coming part of medicine, and I think it's gonna begin to catch on. It'll take some time, because it's something that's obviously not covered by insurance. So everyone's looking for the thing that's covered by insurance, and you kind of have to say, well, not everything is, and if this is something that you want to try, you're going to have to decide if it's something that's worth you doing it. Now, that being said, like with everything that we've discussed tonight, I always tell patients, hey, you know what? If you don't have the right milieu, or if you're not in the right space to get something, you really shouldn't do it. Meaning, if you're not eating healthy, if you're not living healthier, then it doesn't make sense, investing into this stuff, because you're not going to get what you're expecting. So it's about setting the expectation and letting them know, hey, you need to fix ABC, or we can work together to fix ABC together, and then we can go down this road. It's not like you do the shot today and tomorrow you're healed. Now, I'll be honest, there are some clients who do that and they feel much better soon after. And those are usually the more motivated ones, the ones that we don't have as much inflammation to fight. You can't see that. But obviously, you talk to your healthcare provider, about that and see if you're a good candidate, because not everyone's a good candidate for certain stem cell procedures. So it's important to kind of do your research and kind of figure out and have to talk with your qualified healthcare provider to see if it's the right fit for you.
Right. And we do offer free consultations at R3. So if you're interested in talking to one of our medical directors, you can go to r3stemcell.com and chat with one of our on-staff doctors about whatever it is that you're dealing with.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. All right, Dr. Morris, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Colin.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And thanks for sharing all of your insight and your knowledge.
Oh, no worries. I wish you do this again. Maybe we can do a movie night where we just kind of break down Anchorman and look at all the different levels.
Sounds good. And you'll be seeing more of Dr. Morris on my social media at our next trainings. So
yes.
You haven't seen the last of Dr. Morris, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Colin.
All right. Sounds good. Tell your wife.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Thanks so much for being here, guys. You can check out Dr. Morris's social media. Miriam, do we have his social media or his website that we can pop up here real quick? If not, you can go to my Instagram, and I've tagged him for today's promotion, and you can start following him there. He and his wife put out some really great content. They do some videos on YouTube as well, talking about health, wellness, nutrition, all that good stuff. So if you want to find out more about Dr. Morris and his wife, you can go there. Hope you guys are getting ready for an amazing holiday season. Can't believe Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and obviously Christmas, holidays. I'm actually heading to Sioux Falls, South Dakota tomorrow to go see my family. So I'm looking forward to that, and hope you guys have a safe and fun week as well if you're going to be seeing your family. And just know that I'm sending you a lot of positive vibes for the week, and I will see you guys next Monday for our continuation of season 5 of Coffee with Colin. Take care for now, and sending you all lots of love.